I thought we were friends with benefits for about 3 years, but now she's accusing me of treating her like a placeholder. Friends with benefits is now over, but I still want to be friends, but she's upset with me. I thought I would post this here, as my friends are divided. My roommate, female 26, and I, male 24, started sharing accommodation about 4 years ago. I was attending university and working towards my degree, which was going to lead to a highly remunerated profession shortly after graduation. I was trying to keep my loans down, but as I was focusing primarily on study, I didn't work much. She was, and still is, working full-time, and over the years, she paid more and more towards the household maintenance. I never asked her to, but I really appreciated it, and did more housework as my share of the load. We started having a sexual relationship about 3 years ago. She's not physically my type, plain and a little bit overweight, but she's a great girl, and we both enjoyed our physical time together. I recently graduated and have started on a very high wage, but this is based on my niche skill set that I worked so hard to acquire. I've started going to work functions and met a gorgeous girl, sexy and smart, and working close to my field. I got her number, and I was arranging to meet up with her a few days later when my roommate came into the rumpus room and asked me what the hell I was doing. I ended the call and asked her what the hell she was doing, and she then told me that we were a couple. I blinked at that and said that we were friends with benefits, but then she started saying she supported my broke ass through college, and now I was earning 6 figures, I was off to get a better girlfriend. I don't think I'm clueless, but this completely blindsided me. We have separate bedrooms. I have never introduced her as my girlfriend to anyone. I never thought that we were a couple. It was a great arrangement for the both of us. But it's time for me to move on, and friends with benefits is never permanent. A few of my male friends agree with me, saying that I'm a pretty good-looking dude, and she must have known that she was out of her lane. My female friends say they always assumed that we were a couple on the down low, whatever that means. And I'm a douche, and I was using her to support me, and now I'm moving on to the real girlfriends now that I'm earning big. I think both she and I both made mistakes and assumptions, but I did pull my weight doing housework, and I never ever once said that we were a couple, and she didn't either. I was going to move out shortly in any case now that I have a good cushion behind me, but I don't want to end our friendship on this note. I started paying half the rent immediately when I got my first paycheck and have been still doing the bulk of the housework. And now in the comments, yeah, and this is why asking, hey, what are we, is always a great idea. Also, please don't try to keep the friendship. You're going to make it harder for her than it already is. Have some empathy. Communication in general. It's depressing because it's so simple in hindsight, but often things just creep up. Then you feel like you're gonna maybe jinx something good, so you never bring it up. But it almost always leads to worse issues. Hey, I noticed you're paying more towards house stuff. Is it okay if I do more work since money is tight? I don't want to create an imbalance. Hey, I've been loving the new sexual side of our relationship, but I want to make sure you know that I'm not looking for a girlfriend. If that's an issue, we can remain platonic, etc. No. You owe her money for when she supported you. Pay her back. And OP replies, I agree. I will be making a lump sum payment to her when I move out. I saw in one of your comments that you didn't know what to say to her, so it didn't come off like you were paying her for services rendered. It's pretty simple, really. On reflection, I've realized that you were subsidizing my life because you believed we had a relationship. I would like to return the money that you spent on my share of the rent as it was given under false pretenses. I will transfer you X dollars on X date. Again, I am very sorry for the miscommunication. She doesn't think she's a prostitute, you don't come off as a coward, or that you're paying to make the situation go away. You are simply correcting a mistake now that it's been brought to your attention. Why is it important for us to know that she's plain and a bit overweight and not girlfriend material? Why is it important for us to know that you've got a niche skill set and are about to earn so much more money? Why is it important for us to know the characteristics of the new girl? Why is it important for us to know that your buddies agree with you that she is outside of your league? I'll tell you why. It's because you're full of yourself, so effing much that you can't even see that this poor woman has done everything one does in a relationship. She supported you financially, and no, you don't get brownie points for doing more housework. You are not a house husband, as that would require you to be in a relationship, which obviously wasn't the case here, so you don't get relationship privileges. She spent her time with you and had sex with you for 3 years. And no, you don't get the cop-out of everyone has a type, because you don't spend so much intimate time with someone that you're not attracted to, if it wasn't a pure egocentrical need. And now you even dare to tell everyone here that you have so much respect for her, while letting your buddies talk about her like she's absolutely beneath you? What kind of friend even are you? Man, you suck big time. And now, on to the update. Thanks to everyone who provided feedback. I wanted to apologize to a few people. My responses were rude at times, and/or not fully acknowledging the effort people had put in to provide some good advice and guidance in my situation. I have had some time to think about things, and enough time had passed since the phone call meltdown to talk with her. I'm glad I posted it when I did, because she pulled me up since then and we talked it out. It was pretty emotional on both parts. We actually had the longest conversation we've had in a very long time. Long story short, I had won a multi-year scholarship for my studies, in addition to hefty reductions in tuition. This was how I was able to study full-time without being in paid employment, but I devoted most of my scholarship to savings as well as paying off my tuition. Having said all of that, I am borrowing money from my dad to make sure I pay her an agreed and fair amount of money in acknowledgement of the financial contribution she has provided over the last few years, under the misapprehension that it would lead to a relationship. I still need some money to pay up front to secure a new place to live, as the housing market is very tight. I am also paying out my half of the lease until the lease expires, and I'm moving the rest of my stuff out in the next 2 weeks or so. She can get another roomie in or whatever, it doesn't worry me, and bank the rest. On the whole friends with benefits situation, I am an idiot for not having the conversation at the start. I am also a douche for not calling a halt to the friends with benefits the moment that I started looking at dating. Yup, no argument. I have lost a lot of respect for my dad about what I did, as I had to explain why I needed a fairly hefty loan of money. Why didn't my roomie discuss anything or bring anything up earlier? This was pretty bad. She said that she had seen a future with me when I first moved in and told her about my study plans and career goals. She said that she had always wanted to be married to a good-looking man who could also take care of her, and that if she helped me, she thought that I would fall in love with her. She was desperately not trying to push me or rock the boat to keep me here. So anything I wanted, she was willing to do for me. She said that I was the nicest guy she had ever been with, and that she was happy to have me on whatever terms that I wanted. Of course, I didn't think that there were any terms at all. It worked well for the both of us, I thought, so no more thought given after that. The reason she never really spoke too much to me, other than we are both very busy people, so if we aren't working or doing chores at home, then we are sleeping, was that she didn't want to screw up or be too needy or let the crazy out. I had no idea that she had such low self-esteem. She said that when I had graduated and got my career launched, she thought that I was going to make it official with her and start dating her properly, etc. And of course, what did I do? Start making arrangements to move out and call a lady that I met. So did she accept my apology? Yes and no. I used some of the suggestions people made about how I should have clarified things earlier, apologized for the hurt that I had caused, and tried to reset our circumstances. I think she just accepted the apology to try and please me. So no, I have tried, but there is no saving this. No amount of money I can pay her is going to fix the situation, and in regards to all the comments about me being arrogant about my appearance, it had to be acknowledged that good-looking people do have advantages in life. I, however, have been given a good reality check by this whole situation, as it's caused as many problems as it is solved. I've been staying in the cheapest, cleanest motel I could find after I had the conversation with her, as I don't feel like being in the same house anymore now that we both know the reality of the situation. I still have a lot of stuff in my room that I don't need for work, but I'll get that shifted as soon as I secure new accommodation. So thanks everyone for your advice. And now in the comments, holy F, I know conversations are hard, but it baffles me that they spent 3 effing years sleeping together and never having a conversation about it. As a woman who used to be young with no self-esteem, I can see it. She knew that he was out of her league, in her mind, and she knew that he felt that way too. And she was never going to say or do anything to rock the boat and chance him losing what little interest he had in her. She wasn't going to have a conversation and risk him thinking of her as clingy or needy. She kept being there when he wanted to have sex with her, and she kept spending her money to support him, hoping that he'd eventually find her worthy of him. As a woman who also used to be young with no self-esteem, I wish I could tell this young woman that there is not a thing she will do that will change this dude's mind. If he already felt like this, you squeezing yourself into a bowl is not going to make him love you more. If anything, it serves to verify that you're not worth it to him. I wish I could tell her that there are many, many men who do not view women this way, and that being single is a valid and viable option. The whole, I had a hefty scholarship that I banked instead of paying my fair share, says all I need to about this sack of human garbage. No wonder his dad was disappointed. You need 3 years worth of what now? Dad, you know how it is. Sometimes you just gotta openly disrespect women while effing them in secret to get ahead in life. Money, please. Why does he have to borrow money from his dad if he's doing so well with his amazing, lucrative specialist job? My money is on he doesn't repay his dad because he figures it's an advance on his inheritance. Guy is only about himself. See, I'm confused about that too. Like, shouldn't he have the money he saved for the last 3 years by not having to pay rent? Sounds like OP was hobosexual and is actually downplaying how much he needed his roommate. We can only hope that he scores his trophy wife, who will in turn only be in it for the money and then screw that guy at the tennis club. Then OP will be in midlife, never having had any relationship with mutual respect. This is exactly what will happen, honestly. People like this don't suddenly start prioritizing the right things and respecting people for the right reasons. He'll probably also ignore his wife for 10 years, and then be all pissy that she has built a rich life without him, all while still being married to him. And then he'll leave and blow up the family unit for someone who makes him feel young again, because he's inherently selfish and justifies it with any stupid logic he can think of. I would be so ashamed of my son if he did something like this. What a waste. Am I the asshole for not wanting to be a stay-at-home mom? Okay, so I already know that it sounds bad, but I, 35 female, and my husband Jeff, 37 male, are currently expecting a boy. His first child, my second. I got pregnant with my first when I was 18, and his dad was never in the picture. I work as a substance abuse counselor, and I love my job. And this is where it gets tricky, as my job offered me 8 weeks PTO for when I have our son. I've been so happy because I didn't want to go right back to work soon. Jeff and I got together when I turned 30, and he moved in with me because I own my house. We just got married this year, and have talked about childcare multiple times, so he knows that I don't want to be a stay-at-home mum. Well, I'm due in November, and he just brought the idea up. I was very confused because we've already talked about this. But I guess my mother-in-law and sister-in-law believe that I should stay home with our son as a mother and wife. I just don't understand where their opinions come in, because I already know where they stand. Both of them stayed home with their kids. All 3 of them sat me down to have this talk, and they want me to focus on the kids, cleaning up the house, making dinner, and all of that. But I already work and do those things. Well, mother-in-law decided to throw it in my face that I never got to be a stay-at-home mum because I was a single mum going to school and working, which, she's not wrong, but it definitely made me pissed that she brought it up. I told them that I worked so hard to give my son a good life, and having another baby doesn't change my decision to keep doing something that I absolutely love doing. And that if they all want someone to take care of the house and kids all day, then Jeff should be a stay-at-home dad, because I make more money than him, and it would make more sense for him to stay home instead of me. It turned absolutely horrible after that. I got yelled at by my mother-in-law and sister-in-law that it's not his role as a father to do those things, that he's the man of the house and should be the one making the money. Jeff just stood there not saying anything, and I blew up and reminded all of them that it is my house, not his. I kicked my mother-in-law and sister-in-law out, and Jeff is so mad at me that he went with them. He said he won't come back till I apologize to all three of them. So, am I the asshole for not wanting to be a stay-at-home mother? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I felt cornered and shouldn't have put down my husband for making less money than me, and also shouldn't have told all of them that it was my house and not his. I don't feel like that makes you an asshole though. Sorry, but you were cornered. I don't think you put down your husband for making less money. I think you just stated a truth. Why shouldn't you have told them that it was your house and not his? That's also true. Yes, it is a shared home, but legally it is your house. Also, the fact that he didn't stick up for you, and he left with them and demands an apology for all three of them, yikes. Red flags. The deepest red you can ever imagine. That doesn't sound like a supportive partner. That doesn't sound like someone I would want to raise a child with. Not the asshole, OP. And now in the comments, not the asshole. And I'd think long and hard before letting any of them back in. Nope, not the asshole. It is 2022. OP, you make more. It's your house. Your in-laws are dinosaurs, and your husband just proved that he doesn't have your back. Bonus, here's your to-do list for tomorrow. 1. Change locks. 2. Make appointment to see family lawyer about custody, parenting time, and child support in your jurisdiction. 3. Research them on the internet in the meantime. And 4. Resolve that none of those 3 people gets back in the door unless they provide you with a fulsome, sincere apology. Sorry about the marriage, OP. I hope it was fun while it lasted. Yep, not the asshole. Jeff's response is truly over the top. How can he think that that is in any way reasonable? Please look after yourself, OP. Not the asshole, but your significant other and his family sure are. Their ideas on gender roles are extremely outdated and harmful. And the fact that Jeff agrees with them enough to leave the house and wants to force you to apologize to them is a huge problem. Like, I cannot overstate how big of an issue this is, and what a bad portend this is for your relationship and for your future child together. Please reevaluate your relationship with Jeff and whether or not his value systems are compatible with your own. Do you want your son to be taught this drivel about how he needs to grow up to be the man of the house? Do you want the rest of your life to be cooking and cleaning and taking care of the children for Jeff? Because presumably, he won't lift a finger to help you, because that's not his job. Because that's what's going to happen if you stay with this man, and let him and his family treat you like this. Please be compassionate to yourself and to your children, and realize that you deserve far, far better. And now, on to the update. It's currently 1:15 AM, and Jeff just called me. He informed me that he cleared out our joint bank account and deposited it into his personal account. Bill money, savings for future trips, grocery money. That he's been thinking, and the only way that he'll come back home is if he can be responsible for all the finances, and I put his name on the house too. I said absolutely not, and hung up. I've already reached out to my boss and will be working from home tomorrow via virtual meetings. I will be calling and talking to attorneys tomorrow morning to see what my options are. I didn't let Jeff know that I'll be home, so I'm sure he'll try to stop. I will update again soon. And now in the comments, info. He cleaned out the joint account, but do you have a personal account that he can't touch? Either way, you are not the asshole, and he and his family with their antiquated ideas can go and take a long walk off a short pier. And OP replies, yes, we both have personal accounts. The shared account was just for things that we saved and paid for together. I'm the only one on my personal account, so he shouldn't be able to access it. So she's already raised one child alone, and now that she has more resources, their gangplank is to threaten to make her do it again. Good luck. Edit, game plan, not gangplank. It's just King Paimon on the end, just threatening you menacingly. Come on, do it, jump. Them, she'll never do it. She has to cave to our demands. She has to. Her, rolls up sleeves and sighs. Here we go again. Utmost respect for single parents. Truly the utmost. Before I became a parent myself, I had a lot of respect for single parents. Since becoming a parent together with somebody else, I have a lot of respect for single parents. This dude's plan, 1. Reveal himself to be a mama's boy. 2. Reveal himself to be a thief. 3. Question marks. 4. OP begs for him back and agrees to eat crap and gives him half her house just cause. Brilliant. There's another comment on OP's account that tells a little bit more of what a joy Jeff is to be around. Quote, "Okay, so the main reason I got into my line of work was because my dad suffered from substance abuse since before I was born. It took him a long time, but he's been sober since my son was 2 years old. Jeff thinks that we shouldn't be obligated to go along with the rules that my dad has set for family gatherings. They are no alcohol or any type of substances at his house, which everyone is absolutely okay with except Jeff. He would always bring it up at every gathering and start an argument. Who the F complains about a recovering alcoholic not wanting alcohol in their house?" Definitely not sarcasm here, but I can relate. There are no couches in my house. I'm recovering from a serious incident, and you will not find a couch in this house. Our next one's pretty spicy. It's titled, "My fiancé gave a guy a blowjob during her bachelorette party." I'm more shocked than livid. My wife had her bachelorette party in a strip club while I was asleep. At around 2 a.m., I got a call from a close friend of hers telling me to check my messages. I opened it up and I had turned on the lights and washed my face and then taken my meds before watching the video again. She captioned the video, "Is this the woman you want to spend the rest of your life with?" I was in denial. I know my fiancé, and I know that she would never pull a prank on me like this. I kept watching the video over and over again, and guys, it's her. Holy crap. How could she do this to me? I trusted her, and this is what I got back. I'm thinking about calling off the wedding, but I don't want to be so emotional. I also don't want her to know that I've seen the video because I feel like it'll affect our relationship in the long run. Maybe if I just act like it never happened, it would make things better. Ah yes, that is a fairly nice elephant you've got for our room here, wife. Though I will take no notice of it. It doesn't exist. Now in the comments, acting like it never happened won't make things better. You need to talk to your fiancé. The worst part is, that's just the first one caught on video. If she had it in her to do it once, she has it in her to do it again. Get out before you have kids. And OP says, I will. She sucked a stripper off. If she saw you going down on a stripper at your bachelor party, she'd leave you. Also, she should probably get an STI test, including contact viruses like HSV and HPV. I'd also reflect a bit on her, not considering the potential impact of STDs, as she is supposedly entering a monogamous relationship with you. No. He needs to tell her the wedding is off, and he needs to get her out of his life and tell her family and friends why, with proof I should add. Whatever you do, OP, do not get married to that woman. If she did it with all her family and friends there, just imagine what she's doing when she's just out with the girls. He needs to have the wedding, and right before the vows, plays that video on a huge projector for all to see. Walk out throwing up his middle fingers high and proud. You certainly can't ignore it. If you do, it will lead to resentment and hostility in your relationship going forward. You need to wait until you feel calm, make sure it's just the two of you, and see what she has to say for herself. If it was me, I wouldn't mention the video at first. Just tell her that you know what happened, and see if she outright denies. I would make sure that you have anything material-wise that means a lot to you put away or hidden in case things go south. Stay calm, and you may consider recording your interaction if you think things might get crazy. Make sure you update us, OP. And now, onto the update. I called off the wedding with my fiancé. So I made a previous post here about my fiancé blowing a guy at her bachelorette party. Somehow, some folks were able to guess my name, and now it's gone. When she came back and I confronted her with the video like you all suggested, she denied it, saying she doesn't remember doing any of that. She said she barely drank, and her friend that sent the video was just trying to separate us. She told me her friend, that I've known way before I met my fiancé, has been jealous of the fact that we're getting married, and feels that she would be a better match for me because my fiancé is too wild, and wouldn't make a good wife. Sheesh. There was so much drama involved. It was almost comical. There is literally video evidence against my fiancé, but she's denying it. She claims that she was framed. My friend sent the video to my mum, and it's a mess. She told me that she won't let me make a mistake that would ruin my life. To be honest, I just want to leave. I need a frickin' break from all this madness. If this was a prank, then they got me. They win. I am done. People here are really reaching by saying my friend set my fiancé up. It's not a movie. Stuff like that doesn't happen in real life. I want to find an excuse for my fiancé, but my friend had nothing to do with it. I trust her. And now in the comments, my man, video doesn't lie. She got caught and is stupidly denying it. You did the right thing deciding not to marry her. And OP replies, I'm still thinking about how she could possibly be framed. She couldn't have been framed. She was literally gobbling a cock. Yeah, you're right, but why did the friend send the video to the mom? If she really was a friend, she wouldn't have sent it to the mom. There are things that you don't cross, and she really crossed the line by sending it to his family. Yes, that's trashy. Not even my closest, lifelong friends would dream of sending something like that to my parents. This entire situation is so messy, there is no way to retrieve some of these relationships. OP says, I still don't understand why she would deny it. She's denying it for a couple of reasons. 1. Admitting it will make her the bad guy. She'd be cast as the reason why you broke up, whereas if she keeps denying it, she can frame it as you not trusting her. Or 2, she's hoping that your love for her will make you want to believe that it isn't true, and so will choose to believe her. You wouldn't be the first person to not believe what's right in front of their eyes when it comes to their partner, and you certainly wouldn't be the last either. On the original post, OP revealed that the friend threatened to release the video if he didn't call off the wedding. Screw the ex-fiancé, but she was right about the friend. This whole situation is a mess. Maybe fiancé was indeed set up, as in some drugs were put in her drinks. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't trust the friend. I find her more suspicious than the fiancé. I don't get why it's not the first thing coming up. This whole situation with OP's friend is making me uncomfortable, especially when we know that it's easy to drug someone. She is way too invested in this situation for it not to be a culprit. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for giving a free drink to a pretty girl in the bar in front of her friends? Hello. To start off with, I work as a server in a popular bar. I regularly tell my co-workers to give free drinks to girls I find hot. Last weekend, I saw this gorgeous girl sitting with a group of 4 or so girls and 1 guy. I told my friend to give her a free drink and tell her that she was the best looking girl there. The guy from the group came up to the bar and said that the other girls were hurt and that it was rude for me to do that. The next morning, one of my managers called me and told me that a girl from that group was drunk and crying and made a complaint about us, saying that another one of the girls was the hottest girl there. I think it's a bit trivial, as she doesn't know me and it's just my opinion. Also, it seems kinda trivial. I don't know. Am I being a jerk here? I never want to make anyone feel bad. Now in the comments, you're the asshole. Maybe, no, definitely, stop doing that. I don't know if that's even allowed. Isn't that technically stealing from the company, unless you're paying out of pocket / your paycheck for the drinks? I think that the other girls are being overly sensitive. I will say that perhaps you can execute this slightly better and give multiple girls cheaper shots in the future as to avoid hurting feelings. But overall, I think that anyone who just says you're the asshole are a bit too quick to judge. You never made existence a contest. You made an error and simply didn't anticipate the overly sensitive nature of some drunk people. I say not the asshole, but as a rule of hospitality, if you give something to someone in a group, best give it to them all. You're the asshole. You're an employee, and it's gross that you treat the female patrons like they are there for your judgment and reward. Grosser that you treat your co-workers like your henchmen in this, delivering your creepy little judgments while you skulk around in the back. I need a shower to wash off all the sleazy vibes that you're admitting. Mixed feelings on this one. On one hand, it's not professional to hit on people in a work environment, especially if you're serving them. I've known people who have gotten fired for it. On the other hand, drunk dialing the manager and crying about this is juvenile AF. Think I'll go with not the asshole and tell you to be careful in the future. And now on to the update. Edit. Today I went into work and was taken to a back room. I was fired for gross misconduct. Apparently they are doing a lot of interviews of the staff and another guy was fired too. Oops. I mean, I guess I was expecting it. It wasn't too shocking. I don't agree with it, but life goes on. And now in the comments, what an arse. Comping drinks is pretty normal in the industry, especially for really attractive people. Hot ladies get free drinks, they come back, your bar gets known for having hot ladies, guys come in and spend a lot of money. But God, this guy is such an arse. If you want to hit on one lady in particular, you give her a drink, wink, and then say it's on the house. She feels flattered, everyone is giggly, and there is no pressure. If you want all the ladies to feel good, drop off a round of cheap shots and wink at the lady of your choice. This is by far the best approach because all these attractive women now feel like they're getting something nice and will come back. What he did was creep out the woman of his choice and crap over all of her friends whom she was out at the bar with. You know what doesn't make my nights better? Telling me that I'm hotter than all the women that I love and spend my time with. You don't have to cut down on other women to build me up. Besides, bad business all around. He comes on strong, and she decides no, and now they can't come back because nobody wants to go where they'll either be hit on by someone they don't like or called ugly. If he dropped the drink, winked, and moved on, she would have come back to be flirted with if she wanted, and wouldn't be scared off if she didn't. I'm surprised he lasted that long at that job. I wonder if he'd gotten compliments before, or if he only lost the establishment business because people just wanted to leave and never return, rather than dealing with the hassle of complaining. This guy definitely didn't learn his lesson either. Nice guy vibes all around. Great flirting tips, by the way. Might use them someday, if I ever decide to leave my house. I wonder if it works on guys. Lamau? Dude's head is stuck so far up his ass. If he wanted to hit on girls, all he had to do was send a drink out with a "this one's on me" instead of "out of all the girls you're sitting with, you're the hottest." What a dumbass. I never wanted to make anyone feel bad. Then proceeds to tell everyone how he singled out one woman in a group of women to tell her that she's better looking than the other women. Not only is this rude, but seriously creepy. I would never accept a drink from a guy under circumstances like that. I caught my wife letting our male neighbor rub lotion on her pregnant stomach. This literally happened this morning. I'm posting it here and hoping to vent and maybe get some perspective because I've been extremely upset all day and I can't process this productively. My wife is 8 months pregnant with our child. We live next door to another married couple who are in their late 30s. I don't like the guy. I've found him to be invasive and the weird type of friendly that almost seems to be prying and clingy. I'm not sure if that's clouding my judgment here or if this validated my beliefs about him. I left for work, decided on the way there I just wasn't feeling it, and called off. I stopped for breakfast before heading home to surprise my wife. 40 minutes tops. I get home, enter from the back door, and here's my wife and my neighbor sitting in our living room on the couch. She's turned toward him, fully clothed, but with her shirt pulled up over her very pregnant stomach, while he, facing her, is rubbing lotion on her stomach with both hands. They both froze, before my wife asked how come I was back, and then said, his name stopped by to borrow the toolbox while I was moisturizing, and wanted to know if he could feel the baby, so I said okay. I told him to get out before I put him out, and he left immediately. I tried to stay calm and talk to her and get the whole story. Neighbor's wife is apparently infertile. This is the first I've heard of it, which is amazing, considering the guy never shuts up about his personal woes. And he wanted to feel the baby. That's her story, and she's sticking to it. That's not good enough for me. My thought process is there is a big effing difference between feeling a baby for 10 seconds and coming into our home and rubbing lotion on my wife's stomach. If it was some close friend of ours, I might understand, but I dislike the guy, and my wife has never expressed any sort of closeness to him aside from passing pleasantries, and she's not the type to let anyone she isn't close to put their hands on her. So, in the span of a day, the guy goes from being a distant acquaintance of hers at best to her deciding to invite him in and let him rub her? I also find it convenient that he showed up that early, right after I went to work, very shortly after his own wife also left for work. And he's never came over asking to borrow anything of mine before, yet 9:30ish in the morning and he urgently needs a toolbox? I don't believe my wife. This is the first time that my trust in her hasn't been strong enough. I don't believe her story because it makes no sense. When I told her that I'd be mentioning this to his wife, she was adamant I don't, as not to make more of it than it is. If it was innocent, what more is there to make? And even if nothing more is going on, I'm not okay with what I've seen. I'm not okay with him rubbing my unborn child in my home without me there. I know it's her body and her choice, but I'm not okay with this. It would be one thing to feel the baby kick, but he was sitting there, reclined, comfortably on our sofa, rubbing lotion on her with both leaned into their private conversation. I'm trying really hard to figure out how to express the fact that I don't believe her story without causing stress that would be dangerous for her to our baby. I don't want to pick a fight with her at this stage of her pregnancy, but at the same time, my mind is spinning and I'm not cool with what happened. Any advice would be appreciated. And now in the comments, you need to find out by the other wife what the husband was repairing with your toolbox. It was probably BS. I'm beginning to think the guy wasn't repairing anything. I think the whole issue may be that the neighbor's tool was in the wrong box. What if the neighbor is rubbing his own baby in her stomach? You seem to be joking, but I think it could be accurate enough to ask for a paternity test at this point. That could be a great conversation opener. Mention that he took your toolbox, and you're wondering how his work is going. Then if she's surprised, also say how that's strange, and mention the lotion thing. Or just be calm and straightforward about the rubbing lotion situation in the first place. Calmly explain why it makes him uncomfortable, and mention what the husband said about her being infertile. Phrase it like you're coming from a good place, and just wanted to let her know what you saw and her take on it. Look, I may be overreacting, but I saw and was told. What do you think? No need to play games when it comes to 2 marriages and a child. If it is true that she's infertile and he's rubbing another woman's belly, I would see that as hurtful from the other wife's side. So tread lightly for her sake. It sounds so weird. As someone who dealt with infertility and loss for years, yes, it would be painful to hear. But given the chances that this was completely innocent, I would much rather hear about it and have painful emotions re-infertility than have my husband be cheating on me and not know about it. As someone who is currently 8 months pregnant, I can't think of anyone who I would let run lotion on my belly besides my own husband, let alone some weirdo neighbor. Maybe my best girlfriend, but no one else. Their story stinks. And you're right. The timing of him needing to borrow tools and all of this transpiring right after both spouses left for work is suspect for sure. And now, onto the update. So this will be my only update, and I'm only posting it due to the amount of support I've gotten, as well as the numerous requests to do so. I didn't expect the response I got, and I've unfortunately seen it referenced on other subreddits, so I'm choosing to confront it. Most of you were right. Congratulations. I read through all of your replies and spoke to friends, and I stewed for a day. My wife stuck to her story, apologized for making me uncomfortable, and assured me that it wouldn't happen again. Suckup decided to leave a handwritten note in the mailbox specifically apologizing as well. I still didn't feel better, and the consensus was that I should speak to my neighbor's wife, who we're going to call Sally, so that's what I did. I watched my neighbor leave for work, and then I called my mother-in-law to come take my wife for a lunch and a girls' date so she could get out of the house. I left as usual for work, called off again, and went to stay with a friend. I got a text from my wife at around noon telling me that she was with mother-in-law and would be back by dinner. I went home and knocked on Sally's door. Suckup decided to tell Sally that I kicked him out and caused a scene about not wanting either of them speaking to us anymore because I was pissed about him helping my wife. Come to find out, both Sally and Suckup have been going over to my house while I was busy for the past few weeks, as my wife had approached her and asked if they would be willing to lend a hand with chores that she could no longer do alone. Sometimes Sally went over and did small tasks or just hung out. Sometimes both, sometimes just suck up. Wife told her that I knew and was fine with it, and that's why she was confused when her husband told her his bullcrap about me being mad. She showed me where she texted my wife. She has her number, not mine, to clarify and ask if she was welcome to come over, and my wife hasn't replied. And since I don't often see Sally or socialize with them, she just assured that her husband was telling the truth. She also admitted that she noticed Suck Up and my wife becoming fast friends and figured that it was due to the pregnancy, but thought that it was his way of dealing with their own inability to have kids, so she wrote it off. I told her what I walked in on, and I told her about the tools, which ended up being bullcrap too. Came to the same conclusions. Both cried, both hugged for the first time, both took turns denying and accepting and talking each other down. Took a walk around the block together and conspired. She then planned to call Suck Up at work and say that my wife messaged her confessing to the two of them having an affair and seeing what happened. I went back to my friends. Started having major panic attacks thinking I screwed up. I was about to ruin my marriage, worrying that I might be wrong. A bit later, and I get a call from my wife screaming at me to find a way to leave work and come home. So I go home. Suck Up called her telling her what Sally told him. She told me I was crazy, I was a piece of crap, that she was considering leaving me, everything. Having a panic attack thinking that I just ruined my entire life over nothing, while also trying to calm her down for the baby's sake. Impulsively told her that if she was leaving, I would still be requesting a DNA test. And that's when it all came down. Entire tone changed. Pleading, begging, apologizing, hyperventilating, holding me. Asking me how I found out while denying anything happened. I told her that it'd be okay and asked if she'd talk to me if we went for a drive. She agreed. I took us to a parking lot and we talked. Told her if there was any chance of anything happening that she needed to tell me what was happening because I already knew a lot. She had screwed Suck Up a handful of times before she was pregnant. Our baby might not be ours. Suck Up had been coming by and doing daddy duties once in a blue moon in case it's his. They haven't slept together in months. She said we could move away, that it's ours no matter what, that he had manipulated her. She admitted that she lied to Sally to justify Suck Up going over for daddy duties. I asked her if she'd stay with mother-in-law for a few days while I calmed down. She agreed. I took her home, packed up some stuff, and dropped her off. I've cleaned out my essentials, and I'm in a friend's basement. Friend called her on my behalf and told her that if the baby is mine, I'll be dealing with it. If it isn't, it's on her. But either way, I'll be filing for divorce. My friends took my phone from me and deleted my social media. She's been calling my friends. Friends told her to F off. I spoke to my boss and he's been very understanding. Last I heard from Sally, Suck Up hasn't been home and stopped responding to her calls and texts. I have nothing left. In less than a week, my life has fallen apart. The only thing keeping me here is the small chance that that baby is mine. I have nothing else. I woke up today disappointed that I woke up at all. I've never felt this alone. I haven't accepted any of it yet. I'm praying for the first time in my life that I can stop feeling this way and find strength. And now in the comments, thank you for updating us, even though you don't owe us anything. I hope that you already talked to a lawyer at this point. Hang in there, and good for you for standing up for yourself and not being a doormat. It was incredibly brave of you to confront this, and very kind to let us know. One day at a time, dude. One day at a time. Next up, prenatal paternity test. But wow, I don't see this marriage surviving, even if it is yours. Hugs. Quote, I have nothing else. Respectfully, sir, I disagree. Here is what you have. Quote, I spoke to my boss and he's been very understanding. I don't know where you work, but where I come from, most bosses would tell me to man up and leave that crap at the door. Not everyone has an understanding boss like that, man. You've got a treasure. Learn to value it. Quote, I'm in a friend's basement. Friend called her on my behalf. You've got a great friend who would share his or her home with you just because. I can guarantee you that not everyone is like that. Also, he/she called her on your behalf. Not many friends would want to get involved in that kind of drama. He or she is an absolutely solid person. And quote, my friends took my phone from me and deleted my social media. She's been calling my friends, and friends told her to F off. Now you have a small army. It might be small, but it is certainly made up of loyal elites, of friends to help you through this process. Not everyone can say the same. So, bro, you aren't alone. You don't have nothing. You still have your job, a job with an understanding boss, a good friend, friends who take your side. You have everything a man could ever want. So chin up, my boy, and go grab that bull by its horns. Life may look like a black hole right now, but it is always darkest right before the dawn. And now, onto the final update. Extremely long story made slightly less long. A week after my last update, my soon-to-be ex-wife had our child, which I was at the hospital for. I'm the father. The first few weeks after my last update were extremely difficult, with family and friends on both sides adding to the drama. Thankfully, I've had an overwhelming amount of support from not only the vast majority of people I know in my personal life, but from all of you as well. My wife and I agreed to sit down and discuss things after she was discharged, in my friend's basement, with my friend upstairs in case I needed the support. She came over, and we basically said everything we needed to say. I exploded and said a lot of mean crap, most of which I regret, some I don't. She spent the whole time apologizing and begging me to take her back and give our family a chance to survive everything that happened. Went on for about an hour like this until I accepted that there was nothing left to say, and I have zero romantic love for her anymore, and she accepted that we need to focus on our daughter above all else. We're agreeing to figure out a custody split amicably, and to eventually co-parent more actively together when our wounds heal, but our marriage is over. She has the potential to be a wonderful mother, but she has failed me as a wife, and my sole focus right now is how to get myself mentally to where I need to be the best father possible. We plan to eventually sell the home, but right now I'm staying in an apartment. Sally is leaving Suckup. He's apparently staying with his mother and still refused to speak to Sally directly. According to her, the last thing that was passed along to her is that he understands what he did, he's sorry that he hurt her, he loves her, and won't contest a divorce. She's struggling to handle everything and lacks a support system, so we are developing a friendship. Mostly two wounded people leaning on each other, and I'm doing my best. She plans to start therapy too. And no, I don't plan to be anything more than platonic friends with Sally. Lovely woman, but no. I still haven't fully processed my new role as a parent. I think mentally I already convinced myself my child wouldn't be mine in case it ended that way. I plan to take classes and spend more time with my daughter doing early bonding. I'm terrified, but very happy. I know there is a lot left to do, and a lot of hurting left to go through, but I'm stable and a dad. That is what matters most. And now in the comments, by God, the trilogy is complete. That, honestly, is probably the best possible outcome after reading your earlier posts. I wish you much happiness in future. I agree. 2 happily divorced parents are better than 2 miserable married ones. I don't see how OP could have gotten past the betrayal. Strong emphasis on happy and divorced parents. Please, 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 OP, do everything you can to keep the co-parenting amicable. Think of as many future scenarios as you can and discuss in advance, i.e., vacations cutting into other parents' visitation and how to handle the conflict. Hammering out a specific agreement ahead of times makes future conflicts easier to manage. There is something about the audacity of cheaters parading their affair partners in front of their spouses and partners that is so much more anger-inducing than your usually clandestine affair. I'm not sure why. That's one of the stupidest cover stories that I've ever heard. I mean, y'all got caught red-handed. Just say, yeah, you caught us. And the neighbor dude put an apology note in his mailbox? I'd lose my crap. Jesus, the balls on these people. What a mess. I'm glad OP stood his ground. Boundaries are important, and so is respect. I almost wish that it wasn't his child, so he can get a clean break. Must have been very difficult to still proceed with a divorce, knowing you have a newborn to raise together. As bad as I feel for OP, my heart breaks for Sally. Imagine not only your husband cheating and possibly impregnating your neighbor while you're dealing with infertility, but also him taking you over to her house to do chores for her while he plays daddy. That is seriously screwed up. I hope she's doing a lot better these days. Our next post is titled, I've lied to everyone in my life for 20 years that I'm Jewish. I am not Jewish, not even a little bit. If you asked me any questions about Judaism, I couldn't tell you. But still, everyone thinks I'm Jewish. It all started in high school, 11th grade. I had just moved from California to the South, and it was a rough time. I was called every horrible name in the book because I talked different and got the crap beat out of me multiple times. Well, I slowly befriended some of the guys on the football team, and my closest friend was the center. We'll call him Greg. Now, Greg is a super chill guy compared to everyone around him, but he's still very, very racist and very open about all of his opinions. Well, one day I'm driving Greg and a few other football players home from school, and he makes a comment about synagogues. Without even thinking, I mentioned that I've been to one, and this is where it all started. This prompted one of the other guys to joke that I was a Jew, and trying to be chill, since these were the only friends I had, I went, haha, yep, I'm Jewish. And then that's when it all went downhill. Greg told everyone on the football team how his new friend from California was a Jew, and they all believed it since most of them thought there were only Jews in California anyways. And the football players spread that to the rest of the school. At this point, I still thought that it was a joke, and everyone just jokingly called me Jewish, so I just kept going with it. Then I became known as the Jewish kid, and started to actually become popular, since everyone wanted to be friends with a different kid. And the fact that my dad had money, a lot compared to the poor area that I went to school, so I could afford to buy nice things, and people tend to be attracted towards that. And so being Jewish almost became my identity. It became who I was. So whenever someone would ask my religion, I just automatically told them I was Jewish. Fast forwards to the end of high school, and the counselors are walking people through scholarship stuff, and my counselor calls me into his office and hands me a slip for a $5,000 Jewish American scholarship. Now, as soon as I read Jewish American scholarship, I was going to walk out and throw it out, but he made me sit down and fill it out with him, and then took it from me to submit it. I felt horrible for even doing it, but somewhat relieved when I heard they only gave it to people who were also ethnically Jewish, so I knew I wouldn't get it. I got it. I received a letter in the mail saying that I was chosen as the winner of this $5,000 scholarship. I got accepted to Dartmouth due to the fact that I worked my ass off in high school and was the valedictorian, though my competition wasn't plentiful to say the least. But I never thought that I would have been able to afford it, but this scholarship was huge in helping me towards that. I considered spilling everything then, declining the scholarship, telling everyone at school, telling almost every single form that I've filled out, saying that I'm not actually Jewish. I decided to tell my dad and ask him for advice, as he's always been a guy that you can talk to about anything whatsoever. So I tell him everything. I tell him about the joke, then the lie, and then everything. And now the scholarship, which I hadn't told any of my family about because 1, I never thought I'd get it, and 2, they'd question why a very not Jewish person is getting a Jewish American scholarship. And as soon as I told my father, he looked me dead in the eyes with the most serious, disappointed face, and then burst into tears laughing. The way he reacted, it must have been the funniest thing he'd heard in his life. He told me that he had gotten a letter in the mail asking if I was ethnically Jewish for a scholarship that I had entered, and being the person he is, he just saw the chance for college money and went, yep, Jewish, and that was apparently all they need. So my dad convinced me to keep the money and go to my dream college, and I did. As soon as I arrived at the university, I was met with some people from the group that gave me the scholarship, some Jewish American organization funded by wealthy Israelis, and they told me / enlisted me into all these Jewish clubs, and they got me set up in a synagogue, and I met everyone there. I'd later learn 2 of these people there would be my professors, who were very Jewish. And finally, they told me that they would set me up with the whole birthright thing, where they fly American Jews out to Israel. I was so shocked. I was at my dream school, plus I was being hit with all of this. It was too much. I thought about coming clean a lot of times, but I feel like all the people around me would suddenly feel betrayed and leave me. I became good friends with a lot of these people in these Jewish clubs. I bonded with my teachers a lot better since they believed I was Jewish. I met the most beautiful Jewish girl, who I met through her mother when she came up to me in a cafe, asked if I was Jewish, since I was with the local rabbi, and I said yes, and she told me that I'd love her daughter. We went on a date and instantly hit it off. And I got a free trip to Israel. I can't deal with this. What? All the while, I was dealing with severe depression, since I felt horrible every second of every day. In addition to the already enormous amounts of stress university puts on you, I came so close, so many times, to just throwing myself off a bridge or tall building, but I could never bring myself to do it. I managed to get all the way through 11 years of college to get my doctorate, got a job at a history museum back on the West Coast, married that Jewish girl, had a Jewish wedding with her entire family, and my 2 parents. My dad had spilled the beans to my mom about 2 days after I told him, and she also found it equally as funny. We've had 3 little Jewish babies. The museum put me in charge of organizing and creating a huge Holocaust and Jewish American history exhibit, even though that's not my specific field, even in the slightest. And in a few months, when the current curator retires at the end of '96, I will hopefully be taking his place. He's been training me for the job. I've worked there the longest, and I've made sure that I'm damn good at my job. My life has turned out great, but deep down, it will always haunt me that my entire life is built on a lie. My kids' lives, my life, my wife's life, all came from a joke in a car 20 years ago. I was never going to tell a soul about this, but today my oldest son, he's 9, told me that he doesn't think he believes in God, and I told him that I agreed. It was the first time in 20 years that I told the truth about my religion and didn't lie. My son wants to tell his mom that he doesn't want to continue being Jewish, and I might use this as my way of getting out as well. I told him that we'd tell her tomorrow at dinner, and he seems almost excited as I am, but equally as nervous. Wish us luck, I guess. I am still unsure if I should tell her the whole truth, or if I should just leave it with that I no longer want to be Jewish. Edit. Just for clarification, because people have been questioning my use of the word university in place of college, yes, I know they are not the same thing. I've just been surrounded by British people lately, and they all use university, so I've been saying that instead of college. It's a recently adopted habit, and I can assure you I'm American. Born in Folsom, California, moving to Orange County, and then to Santa Clarita, California, where I lived for most of my younger life until my family moved to Americus, Georgia. I can assure you I'm definitely American. And as for my wife not finding out from my side of the family, it's mainly due to the fact that we don't talk to my side of the family for personal reasons, and I haven't talked to them in years, and she's only ever met them once at the wedding, but she also wants nothing to do with them. I've decided that I'm just going to tell her that I'm not Jewish. I won't tell her that I lied about being Jewish for all these years, but I'm just going to tell her that I'm not Jewish. Someone also said that since both sides of my family are Czech, there's a good chance I'm Jewish, so I'm thinking of doing a DNA test soon. Also, when I said I know nothing about Judaism, that was an extreme exaggeration. I've obviously picked up a lot of knowledge over the years, and I think my wife may have an idea, due to the fact, whenever a Jewish holiday is coming up, she'll remind me about it and tell me when it is, / what it's for, if I don't already. I'll update later tonight on how it goes. Edit 2. So I talked to her, and I decided to just tell her everything. And it didn't go like I expected. She told me she had a feeling I wasn't Jewish from the beginning, but never married me just because I was Jewish, but married me for me, regardless of my faith. She said that she was sorry that I felt like I had to hide it from her for so many years, and that I don't have to pretend to be Jewish if I don't want to. But like a lot of people have commented, I do feel sort of culturally Jewish now. I definitely identify more as a member of the Jewish community than I do any others. We're not going to pressure any of our kids into Judaism, and we're going to let them decide what they want to do for themselves. And my wife and I agreed that it would be best if we gave back, since all the opportunities afforded to me came from the Jewish community. We're going to get involved with an organization, and we're donating to 3 different scholarships for $5,000 each. and try to help fund birthright trips whenever we can. I'd like to thank everyone who has commented with advice, and hopefully this can be a new chapter in my life. Am I the asshole for refusing to cook dinner? So I've been married to my husband John for a year now, and recently, aka 5 weeks ago, we welcomed our first baby, F. I'm currently on maternity leave, which my husband has interpreted as me being stay-at-home mom instead of taking time to rest before I needed to return to work. I don't really mind it too much, since cleaning my house is soothing to me, and is a good distraction from my sleep deprivation. I've always been this way, and John still does do his share of household chores. He does most of the outdoor work, and he'll sweep and vacuum. But recently, he's been writing me about not having dinner ready when he gets home. He works from 8 to 5:30, so it's not a completely unreasonable time for dinner, but it's not like I can just stop taking care of our daughter to cook him a meal. I can usually talk him down, and he'll watch our daughter while I cook. A few days ago, however, he came into the house and began berating me for not having dinner ready and waiting so he could just walk in and sit to eat. I was actively changing my daughter's diaper while he went on this rant. He went as far as to say that he put up with my laziness for long enough and that I needed to do my job properly. I didn't say anything to him at that moment. I went and cooked dinner, and he seemed pretty proud of himself for winning that conversation. But I only have a few more weeks to stay home with my baby girl, and I'm not going to have that stomped on because of my husband. So ever since that day, I go to my mum's house for dinner. She's okay with this, by the way. I don't cook anything for John, and I'm already at my mum's by the time he gets home. I still clean at home and keep the house tidy, but I don't cook dinner. John has been furious with me, and has been telling me that I'm an asshole for leaving him to starve. I just want to have a peaceful environment before I have to go back to work. So Reddit, am I the asshole? And now in the comments, you know when you go back to work you'll still be married to him, right? Exactly this. OP not the asshole. But you're a new mum, caring for an infant, and still doing chores around the house. You're a wife and mum, not a personal chef. If he wants dinner ready when he gets home, he can cook before he goes to work or meal prep once or twice a week. Problem solved. Newsflash, you are not leaving him to starve. He is starving himself. The issue with these people is that they would rather starve themselves than cook dinner and have a healthy relationship. For them, winning the argument and being mad is more important than spending that time on preparing dinner. Definitely not the asshole. Major red flags. 1. Talk him down. From what? Anger? This is not a topic worthy of rage or anger. 2. Watch our daughter. You mean, be a parent? 3. Berating to have dinner ready and waiting? Question mark? And 4. Put up with your laziness. This person is serious trouble. He's treating you abusively. Please get out, not the asshole. Everything he said was so noxious, I can't believe OP couldn't see it. But then I remembered how blind I was in my own abusive marriage. My ex used to come home and pace angrily throughout the house until he found something to yell and make me feel like crap about, even if I cleaned all day and cooked dinner. I don't know why we rationalize such behavior to ourselves so easily, and are so slow to see it for what it is. Dude probably showing his true colors now that he married her and got a kid in the equation, thinking she'll never leave him now. Oh yeah, that's totally plausible. It's a depressingly common pattern, especially since OP said this came out of left field. You're married to a 24-year-old who thinks that it's a woman's job to have dinner on the table when he gets home every night, when she's on maternity leave? Who raised this man? I don't want to know about the in-law situation. Does he watch Andrew Tate? And OP replies, my mother-in-law and father-in-law are amazing, truly. I would go to their house too, but they live a few hundred miles away. My mother-in-law was a big support for us when my pregnancy symptoms were at their worst. And no, he thinks Andrew Tate is ridiculous. Not the asshole, but be careful. Cooking is a life skill, not a gender role. And it sounds like Andrew Tate is right up his alley, to be honest. A lot of men hide their patriarchal and depressive mindsets until they're married and have kids, because then it's so much harder for their victims to escape. Don't be fooled, OP. Him telling you to have his food ready is already verbal abuse. But think about this. Is this the example you want to set for your daughter? And now on to the update. Hey, so thanks for all of your responses and all the advice on my post yesterday. John and I sat down together this evening, and the first thing he said was that he was sorry. He said that he was sorry for the way he had been talking to me, and that he understood why I did what he did. He also told me he saw my Reddit post. Whoops. He informed me that there was a rumor spreading around his workplace that they were planning on laying off a lot of people, and he freaked out. He didn't want to end up unemployed because he wanted me to be able to have my full maternity leave, and also didn't want to force us to dip into our savings accounts. So he was working through his lunch and was coming home without having eaten anything since 7 AM that morning, which is the cause of the insane crankiness. And unfortunately, the rumors were true, and he ended up being laid off. So he's unemployed, which means he didn't actually go to work today, he went to his sister's house. And yes, I called her and confirmed that he actually was there all day. He told me that what was going on wasn't an excuse, and that his behavior towards me was unacceptable. By the way, I did reach out to mother-in-law and father-in-law, and they gave him an earful this morning, and sister-in-law did the same. He admitted that he was jealous he couldn't spend the same kind of time with his daughter, and that his jealousy was coming out in those ways. He's absolutely enamored with the daughter and wants to be more present to bond while she's still a newborn. I told him that I needed him to go see a therapist. I needed him to talk to a professional about how he's been feeling, and I will do the same. We are currently looking for one, maybe a different one for me, covered under my insurance from work. I told him that until he's had a couple of sessions, I'm going to be staying at my parents' home. It's not necessarily a matter of distrust, but I believe that he needs to talk to someone and be in charge of himself for a little bit. I told him that I have no intention of keeping daughter from him, but I believed that it was best to remove myself from our home for a little while. He agreed to all of these things. And my wonderful parents and in-laws told us that they'll help handle our bills until I'm back to work. So that's where we are. John is going to try being a stay-at-home dad when I go back to work, and is already enrolled in some online classes at a local community college. Mother-in-law sent him some of their family recipes as well, so John's going to be handling dinner from here on out so he can get better at cooking. I understand that many of the people in the comments were telling me to divorce him or leave, but I don't think I'm ready to give up on our marriage just yet. I have a lot of people in my corner, including my in-laws. Daughter and I will be okay. If this behavior starts up again, I won't stick around and hope that it will turn out like this again. I'll go stay with my younger sister. She's in state. I was recommended against leaving the state with my daughter in case of desire for divorce until I can get a lawyer. If there are any other big changes, I'll update you all again. But for now, thank you and goodbye. And edit. 1. John did not suggest being a stay-at-home dad. The plan he proposed was to pay my mum and dad to take care of my daughter when I get back to work, and he would look for office jobs in the meantime. I did. I wanted him to do it. 2. I'm not taking my daughter away from him. I pump. I'm going to take some of the advice that I was given and give myself time to rest instead of cleaning the house. Daughter will be with him too. 3. John was in fact laid off. I understand that what he did in my original post was terrible, but I do not believe that it warrants people saying he quit. He was jealous of my bonding time, but he also would not leave a job because of that. 4. John is overdue for a physical, so he's called his doctor and he'll have a checkup next Thursday. 5. John went to his sister's because he was embarrassed. If I was laid off after working my ass off for a month, I'd be humiliated too. I wouldn't know how to tell my spouse something like that. 6. Divorce is not on the table. Divorce is not in the house. I'm taking time to heal while staying in a quiet place. Parents going to be on vacation. I am not divorcing my husband. I don't want to be a single mum. And 7. As soon as daughter is reaching the age that we are comfortable with her being in daycare, John will be looking for jobs. He doesn't have a choice. He agreed to that. If he drags his feet, I'll start looking for him. And now in the comments, well, at least he pulled his head out of his ass before it was too late. Stress and anger is a bad combo for some people. I'm not sure dude needed therapy as much as he needed to pack a frickin' lunch that he could eat at his desk. Not that therapy is the wrong choice, and it should give him some better coping mechanisms and hopefully the ability to recognize when he's being irrational because of other factors. This should also be a lesson for everyone. When the chopping block comes out, it very rarely matters what you do, the decision is usually made by the time the rumors start. Busting your ass the last few weeks only gives free labor to an entity that's throwing you out like the trash. I hope that OP's husband really comes around. Not everyone is lucky enough to have a second chance. Some do a 180 though. My partner, many moons ago, told me off for leaving my dirty cup on the table. It was an honest mistake, as I would wash my cup before leaving for work. Well, after having our first child, he was saying, I get it. House is clean, but dishes are dirty, and there's no food in the house. I let it be because I knew he was working long hours, but I was up all night with the kid and was exhausted mentally and physically. And then I got a job, and he was the designated house person. At that point, he started a new job, weekends, nights. Of course, it still fell on me to do all of the housework and look after the kid as soon as I'd walk in. So I gave him an ultimatum. I said, you either pick up your weight and do some crap around the house, or you pack your stuff up and go. Because at this point, I'm a single mother looking after a kid and a grown man. Well, I monitored how things went for about 3 months. I wasn't going to give it up too easily, but I also wanted to make sure that this is a consistent thing. And listen, since that time, about 7 years now, he is cleaning when I don't get a chance to. He is cooking or ordering from outside if I'm not in the mood to cook. He's washing the dishes, looks after the kids so I can get my me time, and he works full time. I asked him if he'd want me to go to work and he would stay at home for a while, and his answer was, no thank you, it's easier at work than at home. Some people change and understand, some don't. It's a matter of giving a chance and seeing where you're heading. Everybody has ups and downs. I can't believe it that people are jumping on the divorce wagon for this reason only. OP's husband wasn't violent, abusive, or anything close to that from what I've read. I hope that they do get an understanding and they get their happiness. Our next post is titled, My boyfriend got into a fist fight with his cousin for disrespecting me, and now my boyfriend's mother wants to meet with me alone. I, 25 female, was at my boyfriend's, 29 male, parents' home for a barbecue last week. My boyfriend's parents, his siblings, and his cousins were there. Everything went fine for the first half of the night. Things went way left towards the second half of the night. We were all, minus the parents, sitting in the backyard and just chilling. It was around 9 to 10 p.m, and everyone had been drinking for a few hours now. I didn't drink much because I don't typically like to get drunk. My boyfriend has a male cousin who is in his mid-30s. This cousin proposed that everyone do rounds of shots. My partner got excited and said that he was game, so I playfully told him that he needed to slow down because I did not intend to carry him and his big behind home. He's taller and works out, so trying to make him move is like pushing against a mountain. I've already tried once when he got very drunk at his birthday party. My boyfriend knew I was being playful, so laughingly asked me to loosen up. Out of nowhere, his male cousin says, yeah, you need to remove that huge stick out of your ass and loosen up for effing once. It took all of us by surprise, including his own girlfriend, and his tone was not nice at all. He was being serious and rude. My boyfriend immediately retorted with, what the F, dude? Asking him who he thought he was talking to, and told him to apologize. His cousin did not back down, and started talking about how I always have this holier-than-thou attitude, which was ludicrous because I very rarely see him, and have only had brief/surface-level interactions with him. My boyfriend got extremely pissed and stood up, demanding that he shut the hell up and apologize. He stood up because his cousin was already standing up, and he later told me that he did that because he wasn't going to let someone talk down to me or him like that. His cousin began walking forward, so my boyfriend did the same until they were face to face. They exchanged a few words, mainly my boyfriend telling his cousin that he needs to apologize, and his cousin telling him to F off. Out of nowhere, my boyfriend gets punched by his cousin. My boyfriend did not skip a beat and punched him right back, causing his cousin to fall backwards onto his ass, and before he could do anything, my boyfriend got on top of him and started punching him. My boyfriend did a lot of boxing as a teen and still boxes to this day as a hobby. He also coaches younger guys and teenagers on the weekends on the side of his regular job. While the fight didn't last long, his brother and other male cousin pulled him away. My boyfriend did manage to deliver a good amount of punches, and his cousin looked messed up. Either way, the night quickly ended after that, and we went home. No police or anything were called, and the girlfriend of my partner's cousin texted my boyfriend and apologized for what happened. My boyfriend is still furious and refuses to talk to his cousin or to talk to anyone except me about him. Today, his mum called me out of the blue to check up on me after all that happened last week, and I told her that we were doing good. She then asked if I would be able to meet her tomorrow and to not tell my boyfriend, aka her son. I told her that I wasn't comfortable with not telling him, but she begged me and said she wouldn't be asking if she didn't really need to see me alone. I told her that I needed the day to think about it. I don't know what she wants. All I know is that it has to do with what happened that night because she herself told me it's about that. I don't know what to do. She isn't just anyone, it's his mother. They have a great relationship. What do I do? Do I go and hear what she has to say, or do I tell her that I'm not meeting with her? I don't have a good feeling about this. She's all about family, so I feel like she might be up to something. And now in the comments, that's a real catch-22. If you don't tell your boyfriend, you'll be keeping a secret from him. If you do tell him, you'll be on the outs with his mother. Personally, I wouldn't keep it a secret from my girlfriend. I'm sorry you're in this situation. Good luck. Why can't mum just call you on the phone privately? Why does it have to be in person? That's weird. I reckon it's because whatever mum has to say, she needs to make sure that boyfriend isn't listening in or reading messages. Only way to be certain is meeting face to face. Yeah, this. I can't text my best friend about certain things because her boyfriend won't let her have his own phone and reads messages. There is absolutely no way this would end well. She's either going to try to get you to convince your boyfriend to back down, tell you it's your fault, ask you to apologize to cousin to keep the peace, using the fact that you'd obviously want to be on her good side. You know, mother-in-law and all. If she tried to do or say any of these things in front of your boyfriend, he would absolutely defend you, and rightfully so. So she's trying to get you alone. What if you show up and she brings cousin along? This conflict is not your fault. Cousin was rude and out of line, boyfriend defended you, and cousin escalated to blows. You need to tell your boyfriend. This is his family, and it's not on you to fix their problematic dynamics. I would even suggest you agree to meet up and show up with your boyfriend. That way you can see her face when you ask her what she was trying to accomplish by getting you to lie to your boyfriend and get you alone. What if the boyfriend has a history of violence and the mum wants to warn OP? This could be true, but that could have been shared on the phone, right? Well, different types of conversations are more appropriate to have face-to-face if it's possible. The more serious, the more warranted face-to-face is, in my honest opinion. If we are entertaining the idea that the mum wants to inform OP of something that she needs to know for her own well-being, she might have proof that she doesn't want to send via cell phone. Getting into fistfights over insults is not an admirable quality. When I read the post, I assumed that everyone involved was 19 to 22, but he's nearly 30. I don't know. Red flags. He got punched first. I wouldn't say he really started the fight. I think the use of violence was more self-defense. I guess a lot of commenters here would have just sat there in meek, terrified silence as their family berated and insulted their partner. I feel bad for the partners of these people, Lamau. If he had started the fight, that'd be a very different story. But simply standing up for his girlfriend and then effectively protecting himself when attacked is not indicative of irrationally violent behavior. And now on to the update. I told my boyfriend about his mother reaching out and wanting to meet to talk about what happened that night. It turns out that she called him earlier the week before talking to me and had asked him to meet and forgive his cousin, which he refused to do. I convinced him to let me go see his mother alone and that we would just regroup and talk after I was done meeting her. I ended up having to go to his mother and father's place because it's more comfortable and family-friendly than a coffee shop or restaurant. Those were her words. When I got there, I was immediately greeted by her and the girlfriend of my boyfriend's cousin. I mentioned in my first post how she was there that night and has been texting my boyfriend apologizing on the behalf of his cousin. We sat down and his mother was basically trying to make me feel sympathy for my boyfriend's cousin. Apparently, he's having some sort of life crisis. He's like 35 to 38, but I don't know if that's considered a midlife crisis. The girlfriend mentioned that he was drunk, didn't mean anything, and was so sorry. I told them that while I hear what they're saying, this is something that my boyfriend's cousin should be telling me directly. According to them, he doesn't feel comfortable meeting me without my boyfriend being there, and since my boyfriend doesn't want to be near him, he couldn't come. And then his mother tried to convince me to forgive the cousin, because if I forgive him, then my boyfriend will too, according to her. She used the whole, he loves you and listens to you, and we're family and supposed to be tight arguments. And I told them that I would appreciate an apology coming from the cousin directly, and that even if I do later on forgive him, it doesn't guarantee that my boyfriend will. He got sucker punched, and he's generally a less forgiving person than me. I left her house without promising them anything, and went to my boyfriend's place to tell him what happened. That's when I learned about the real reason why his mum wanted to meet me. Apparently, his mum and cousin are pushing for this whole forgiving thing because my boyfriend owns a home renovating business and was supposed to help his cousin with home renovations for a decent family discount. They are afraid that my boyfriend will tell him to F off and not help him, which really explains why they are so hell-bent on fixing things with him. If anything, this just pissed him off even more because he thinks that they want to use me to keep their deal going. He said he's going to take care of all this. And at this point, I don't want to deal with any of this. I probably won't have to deal with his cousin and extended family until Christmas, so I'm going to enjoy that. Multiple people thought that this could have been about the cousin trying to get the police involved, and I have to say that I did bring it up both to him and his sister. She was there, and we're close-ish, the night the fight happened. They both basically told me that they are the keeping it in the family type of family. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for the help, everyone. And now in the comments, wow, so all of that nonsense about midlife crisis and family forgiveness was just a ruse so that the cousin would still get a discount on his home renovations? Wow, good for you sticking with a loyal boyfriend, who by the way sounds like a keeper. If he asks to marry you, say yes, but don't invite his mother and cousin to the wedding. And OP replies, it feels insulting. Are you even genuinely sorry, or are you only worried about having to go somewhere else and pay more? Either way, they will now have to do regardless because my boyfriend made it clear that he's not intending to do anything for his cousin. Well, at least this situation has given you valuable insight into the dynamics of his family and what their priorities are. Good for you for sticking up for yourself and him without being confrontational. His mother seems manipulative, and I'm pretty confused about why the cousin can't apologize directly. The whole thing is just weird, and it's clear his mother isn't being honest with you. So you were also right to tell your boyfriend what was going on and let him choose how to handle it. And OP replies, I underestimated his family. My boyfriend told me when we first started dating that his family can be difficult to deal with, but everything seemed fine the first few times that I saw them, so I just thought that he might have been overreacting or joking. I definitely get now what he meant. It can take time for the veneer to slip. They were on their best behavior for a bit, so you would think when you finally saw how they really are that it was a mistake or a misunderstanding. But nope, they are just not good people. Tell them there's a 200% surcharge fee for customers who sucker punch the home renovator. I can't imagine having the audacity to go to someone and say, hey, I know this person sucker punched your boyfriend, but could you please emotionally manipulate your boyfriend to forgive him? I am somewhat curious how the cousin got the impression that OP was stuck up, although I'm leaning more towards wildly misinterpreting something as a slight, rather than OP is leaving out info, given what we all know about him. OP doesn't like to get drunk. Not getting shit-faced is enough for a lot of people to say that you have a stick up your ass. Can confirm. I went to a friend's stag and do some years back, visibly pregnant, and the bride's plastered father tried to nag me to do shots for about 10 solid minutes, insisting that my pregnancy shouldn't be considered and told that I was no fun and too uptight for staying sober. I'd been told this before for staying sober at parties, but while I used to think that maybe they were right, that night taught me that some people won't be happy unless you're as inebriated as they are, and those people probably have their own problems to deal with that have nothing to do with me. Am I the asshole for saying that the reason why I don't want to visit my mum is because it hurts to see her happy with her new family? So my mum, 37 female, and I were deeply close. She used to say that I'm her joy and pride. I'll turn 17 tomorrow, and I've decided that I no longer want to go to her house to visit her and her real family. For some context, my mum had an affair when I was 9. She left my dad because she fell in love with a married man, and the man ended up divorcing his wife and moving in with my mum. My dad had custody of me, and my mum was granted to have me on weekends. She seemed happy to have me, and always treated me well. Her husband treated me well too, though sometimes he tried to make me respect him as a dad. As my mum's husband's ex-wife wanted nothing to do with the 3 kids they had, 18 male, 17 female, and 12 male, my mum started spending more time because her husband had full custody. She sometimes acted more like a mother to them than to me. She would pick them up from school, never did that for me. She celebrated their birthdays while she was just a guest at mine, and it was hard because it felt like I was gradually losing my mum, and during her custodial, she was great, but she never tried beyond the minimum when it wasn't her time. I had a swimming competition in 2019. It was at school, but she didn't show up because it was on Wednesday, and her stepdaughter had an activity at school. She tried to compensate for it later, but the scar was left there. It isn't healthy for me to be at her house. I suffer a lot when I'm there because they get to have my mum 100% and I only have weekends. They also have a 5-year-old son. It sucks seeing them play the happy family, and even if her husband has treated me good, I see nothing but the man that destroyed my home and hurt my dad. This last weekend, I went to her house and told her that it's not healthy for me to be at her house because it hurts me to see her that happy, and I can't. I also talked about the times that she missed events because it wasn't her custodial time, so I let her know that I am never coming back. I also said that as long as she's in this family, we can't have a relationship, because I'm afraid that they'll make her choose, and she'll pick them over me like other times, and I'll be hurt again. She started crying and said that it wasn't the message that she was trying to send. She said that she never meant to make me feel cast aside and that she was picking them over me. She said that I can't do that because I'm her baby, but I told her that that isn't her choice to make. She's called me every day, saying that she hasn't been capable of sleeping and wants to see me to talk. Her husband and kids are calling me the arsehole for making her feel guilty for something unintentional. But I made my choice, and my dad has my back. Even if you sometimes need the fire, you've got to keep your distance for your safety and not get burnt. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I told my mum that I won't go back to her house because it sucks seeing her happy. And I think, good on you, OP, more power to you. I definitely get the vibes here that she is moving on from you and not making you a priority, especially when she only has you every weekend or so. Like, you're already an insignificant part of her life in comparison to the family she has and the new family that she's creating with her husband with the new 5-year-old child. I do get that it's hard to juggle responsibilities and share the love, but to just be cast out like you are in this situation, that can't feel good. And you're almost 18, you have more than enough reason to just move on and build your own life away from her. I wish you all the best, and I don't think you're the arsehole for that. And now in the comments, not the arsehole. She made her choice, repeatedly, to pick her stepchildren over you. You cannot control what others do, but you can control your response to those actions. All the best. I have no time for cheats, so I have less than zero sympathy for your mother and her new husband. This. Sure, it's a balancing act when you want to be there both for your biological children and your stepchildren, but when the balance always goes to the same side, you made your choice. I get it. Their mum is a big asshole as well, dumping the children because the husband had an affair. Like, that's cruel. But she should have been there for OP as well. Granted, we only see OP's side, but it looks like she sacrificed a lot of the time that she could have had with OP with spending time with stepchildren, and it seems like she never had alone time with OP, nor that she tried to include OP in activities or just family time with the stepchildren. OP was on the outside, looking in and seeing how everyone was having fun, but OP wasn't really included. It must have really sucked to see the mum go all the way and working to get amazing birthday celebrations for the children, but not doing the same for OP, nor that she was ever there to witness OP's achievements. I do believe that the mum might have done all of this unintentionally, but unintentional or not, her actions have hurt her child. She should really reflect hard about it. Her actions were louder than words. Perhaps the bond between OP and their mum can be there again, though it will never be the same. But she needs to do the hard work, and she needs to respect OP's feelings and timeline, if OP ever decides to increase contact with her. And ironically, while stepchildren's mother gets criticized for dumping her children, OP's mother turns around and does sort of the same thing to him, just not as blatantly. Can I just point out that mum guilt is a thing? I can play with my kids all day and then lay in bed at night kicking myself for not just playing with them more instead of needing a break and reading some news on my phone, or upset at myself because I snapped at them just to skip the 90 minutes of build-up and just tell them the funny joke that you heard in your show. I will lay in bed and plan out how I can be a better mother in the morning, the things I want to be better at, and how I can maybe do that. OP's mum has had 8 years that she could have reflected on her choices and actions. Almost 3,000 nights that she could have laid in bed planning on how to be a better mum. Showing us literally the bare minimum, and she wasn't even able to hack that. And now, onto the update. My mum promised to change. So I didn't expect so many people wanting an update. That's why I didn't post one before. Since I first posted here, a lot of things have happened. I posted a day before my birthday. The next day, my mum came alone. She told me she wanted to talk, and we basically ended up spending the whole day together. Her stepkids and husband called me to apologize for what they said to me. My mum said that she wants to respect my wishes of not going to her home, but she wants to spend time with me. So we meet every weekend at my grandparents', and we spend time there. She usually takes Max with her 5-year-old, but not the stepkids. I have talked to them, and we have a kind of a good relationship. Her husband also visited me to talk and apologize for how they made me feel. He said he loves me, and he never meant to make me feel like it. My dad and his fiancée have told me to give my mum a chance, since this is the first time she knows how I feel. I'm not going to her house yet. I don't know if I ever will, but whatever happens, I know she loves me, and I love her. I don't know if I'll ever trust her again, but I can't fully deprive myself of a relationship with her. My mum has promised to change and make me feel better. And now in the comments, all I can say is don't feel obliged to have any relationship with your mum, because she was selfish and her actions were selfish too. They think they can sweep the affair under the rug, but that's not what happens in the real world. Your emotions and feelings are valid. She had a choice, and she chose her real family over you. Yet she is now only doing the bare minimum, like visiting you on weekends. She needs to know that her actions have consequences, and so does your stepdad. These two people are especially selfish and possibly ruined 2 families. My ex did more or less the same thing. Walked away, wanted minimal custody, 50-50 is the usual split here, but he only wanted every second weekend. It suited him and the new missus for about 8 years, and then suddenly our 3 were growing up and growing away from them. Their whole lives were with me. School, sports, mates, extended fam. They didn't want to go to their dad so much. That's what happens. My kids aren't sad about it, but their dad is. Same with my dad. Wanted minimal contact with us, only really called on birthdays. After my grandma forced him, we got older, and now he complains about how he feels that we don't love him enough, and says that we should call and try to visit every weekend. My step-siblings also try to talk us into talking to him more since he's such a great dad. I feel so sorry for OP. It seems that us kids of divorced parents always end up taking the worst part of it because your whole life is altered due to someone else's decision. May OP find happiness and heal. I informed my kids that they come first and will always come first. I grew them, I gave birth to them, I fed them and cared for them when they were helpless potato beings, and they are my absolute priority no matter what happens between their father and me. For my kids, it was a choice between staying in a terribly dangerous situation or taking a risk to get us out of it, and ultimately, I made a decision that it's better to have come from a broken home than to live in one. I can't imagine a situation in which I'd ever love anyone else more than these incredible human beings that blessed me with their presence. I feel for this kid so much. My parents tried their best, and my parents did irreparable harm to me are not mutually exclusive statements. This is why I won't have kids. I know that my best won't be good enough. No one knows you better than yourself. There will always be some asshat that will give you crap for your stance, but screw them. I'm in my 30s now, and I'm super glad that I never got married or had kids. I was in no place or position to be a good father or a good spouse in my 20s. Now, I'm doing much, much better. So who knows? But I'll never regret not bringing some poor kid into this world that would have had a walking disaster for a father. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for moving and taking my cat with me? So, as the title says, I, female 24, moved out from my dad's house. He's been very against it from the start, but it makes sense for me. I graduated, have a stable job, and I pay rent and bills anyway, might as well have the peace and quiet that goes with it. My dad disagrees. For context, I didn't grow up with him, and me living with him has only been a thing for the past 4 years, in which he didn't take any particular interest in me as a person. We would go for over a week without speaking at times, because he just wasn't responding whenever I tried to initiate conversations. The cat is 3 years old, and he's a good boy. He was a bit stressed during the move, but he's okay, and he's settling in. My dad and his girlfriend keep calling and messaging me, telling me what a horrible mistake I'm making, and how upset they are because of this. I've spent what should have been a pretty happy time crying, and feeling upset and guilty. Am I the asshole? I feel horrible, but they won't stop even after I've explained how bad it makes me feel, and that being independent is something I've wanted for a long time. And now in the comments, not the asshole. Why are they having such a freak out about this? Like, it's sweet, I guess, that they miss you, but trying to guilt trip you into moving back is an asshole move on their part, especially since they seem to be trying to guilt you in order to assuage his guilt and loneliness. And OP replies, I don't really know. I assumed moving out at my age was pretty normal, if a little late. Not the asshole. How sad that your dad has chosen to miss out on a relationship with you. I'm betting that dad and girlfriend are upping the pressure and manipulation because they miss the rent money from you. Please don't think that you have to take on guilt from him and her. He chose not to interact with you for a week when you were trying to talk to him, doing this repeatedly. Shame on him. Maybe what you're feeling sorrow about is that you didn't get the dad that you needed, one that was there for you, to share milestones with you, happiness, and harder times. I'm so sorry that you're going through this, and I'm wishing you well. And OP says, thank you. This one brought me to tears. Not the asshole. But I do have to say, take a deep breath and let go of the guilt. There is nothing here to be guilty about. You are an adult, and you and Kitty are out living your lives. I'm curious though, if you offered some sort of service to them while you were living there, did you help clean or maybe cook a great meal? That could be what they are missing. Having that free help at their house. And OP says, I was paying for stuff like Wi-Fi, Netflix, TV, and I was cleaning regularly, yeah. I'm not good enough at cooking to say anyone would miss me for that, but I'd hate to think that that's the only reason my dad would miss me. Aha, that is what they're missing. For some reason, cleaning kitchens gives me joy. So when I moved out, my dad was pissed that he'd have to clean the kitchen, lol. Not the asshole. If you are not having a relationship with them anyway, living alone is better in some respects, and it's apparent from your post that you are not having a relationship with your father, but it sounds like you paid a portion of the rent. Keep repeating that you want them to stop talking about it. take your cat, relax, and enjoy your space. And now, onto the update. I'll go straight into it. Things sort of calmed down after the first month, and I didn't hear anything from my dad for a while. I settled in, and my job is going great. Then I started getting calls and invites to lunch, and my dad kept mentioning their upcoming holiday and all of the things they plan to do. About a week before he left, he asked me for money, and I stupidly gave it because he's my dad, and I'm a bit of a pushover. After that, I didn't get a single sign of life from him until now, when he asked for money for something else that he wants to buy. Now, the holiday money was what was left over from the savings I had when I moved, and it was about what I pay in rent for 1 month. This time, I told him that I don't have any money because I don't. That was it. My job pays okay, but I had things come up, so I haven't been able to start saving again. And I took a weekend trip to a different city, my first holiday in about 4 years, which wasn't expensive, but it would have been money saved otherwise. This has started a new wave of disagreements and outrage at me having moved, as if I hadn't, I would have had the money to help and this wouldn't be a problem. I would understand if this was help with something like rent or something vital, but this is not. So I'm taking a step back and not responding to attempts at contact for the time being. The commenters on my first post were sadly right, and ultimately it was never about the cat, who is happy and well cared for with me. It's upsetting that things are turning out this way, but it's what it is and I can only move on, I guess. And now in the comments, yup, I figured that's the only reason that they were so angry about her leaving. It's really sad, but she's much better off in the long run. OP seems to be very soft-hearted. For her sake, I wish she would go low contact or no contact with her dad. Dad and girlfriend are extremely selfish people who do not have OP's best interests at heart. I get the feeling that they'll go no contact with her as soon as they realize she's not going to throw money at them anymore. All she really has to do is reframe the first bit of cash that she gave them as a loan. I imagine that they won't be too keen on talking to her after that. If I was OP, I would start considering just moving states altogether. The shitty dad isn't getting any younger, and he sounds like the type that would have zero retirement plan and demand to be taken care of. No need to inconvenience herself. She can just block him on her phone and email. He isn't going to make any special effort. Imagine being that much of a cockwomble that the only reason to have your kid around is to exploit them, then to manipulate them when they leave. Imagine being so stupid that you can't be polite or have a conversation with someone who is paying your bills and cleaning your house. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my sister her baggage isn't my issue?" So I, 28 female, am a single mum of 3 kids. I met my daughter when I was 22, volunteering in a mentor program. Her bio mom asked that I take her in for a while when she was having a hard time, so I agreed to become her foster parent. And then 2 years ago, we got the paperwork together for me to become her official guardian. I plan to adopt when kiddo is old enough to tell me that that's what she wants. Last year, I got a phone call from my daughter's caseworker, informing me that her bio mom had another child, and she wanted him to be placed with his sister, so I took him in too. I didn't plan on having any other children, but I met someone, and it didn't last, and long story short, is that I have a first grader, a toddler, and I'm 25 weeks. My sister Bree, 34 female, always loved hanging with my kids whenever she had the spare time. She's been struggling with infertility since she and her husband started trying for a baby 8 years ago, and I can tell how badly she wants to be a mom. I really do hope that someday it does happen for her, because it's all she's ever wanted. Since I announced my pregnancy though, Bree has been kind of distant. I thought that maybe it was just life stuff or I was being overly emotional due to hormones, so I didn't really press her on it or anything, and went about things as usual. Our mum invited us all to dinner the other night, so I got my kiddos settled with a sitter and drove to my mum's place. Dinner went mostly fine, but Bree kept giving me looks every time someone brought up the pregnancy, and towards the end of the night, she asked why I even adopted 2 children if I clearly had no trouble making a baby of my own. I told her that when I started fostering my oldest, it was just to give her a safe place to live until her mums could get things sorted. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and now her brother is with me too. I love my children, and I'm happy to be their mom, but it wasn't my intention in the beginning to adopt via foster care. I wanted their bio mom to work things out, and my heart genuinely hurts for her because she wasn't able to do that. Bree then said that it feels like I'm rubbing my kids in her face. She told me that it isn't fair that I basically had 2 kids fall into my lap, and then decided to be reckless and get knocked up too, all while she's been trying for years to have a child with no luck. She said that it's cruel and unfair that I took 2 babies from the system that could have gone to parents who deserved them, all while being able to easily have one of my own. I ended up telling her that while it sucks, it's not my fault that some people want kids and can't have them, and that her infertility baggage isn't really my issue. Our mother asked me to leave, and the next day called me to tell me that I was being unnecessarily cruel to my sister when I know what she's been going through. Now I don't know if what I said was out of line. You were literally so nice to her in the way that you responded to her attacks, and somehow you're the asshole for defending yourself? Your sister is spitting straight venom at you. She is trying to hurt your feelings and make you feel terrible. How are you suddenly the bad guy for defending yourself and trying to be rational about the whole situation? Sorry sis, but newsflash, life isn't fair, and OP having 2 kids that she didn't make on her own, that fell into her lap, quote unquote, isn't a personal attack on you, sis. It's anything but. The fact that she can twist the reality of the situation with OP and the 2 foster children that they have into that disgusting attack just kinda sickens me. Not the asshole for defending yourself, OP. Good job. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Quote, she asked why I even adopted 2 children if I clearly had no trouble making a baby of my own. Why haven't you adopted any children since you clearly have trouble making a baby of your own, sis? I mean, that would be unnecessarily harsh, but I have zero sympathy for people who act like the universe owes them a biological child. As an adoptee, I kind of wish this had been said. While children in the system aren't exactly an infinite thing, there are so many who need homes, especially sibling placements. But something tells me that she's obsessed with the idea of a baby, and not actually with providing a safe home to children, and the fact that she's weaponizing OP's children against her is effing gross. Not the asshole OP. Oh yeah, and just imagine how she would drop any adopted/foster kid once she does get pregnant. I wish that on no one. Or just make them the unpaid babysitter. I've heard of that happening way too many times. Not the asshole. Your sister is being jealous and petty, and it's misdirected. You don't have to deal with it, and what you said was right. Congratulations on your 3 children. You sound like a great mother. This right here. I would also add that the 2 kids fell into your lap because instead of being wrapped up in your own life and problems, you were out in the world trying to help people who were less fortunate and make their lives a little better. So many of us could take a lesson from that, including perhaps your sister. Not the asshole. If she really cared about children in foster care, she would become a foster parent herself. This is purely about her. What are you supposed to do? Stop making fertility choices just because it makes her feel bad? Yep. Mad at her for 2 kids that fell onto her lap while still making zero effort to help all those foster kids in need. Major asshole. And now onto the update. Hi. I know it's only been a few days since I last posted, but some things happened, and I've decided to rinse my hands of the situation, so I thought I'd provide you all with an update. First though, I do want to thank you for your feedback. It was nice to be reassured that I wasn't being overly mean, as that's what I was mainly worried about. I do really love my sister, and I don't ever want to cause her to hurt, even when we are fighting. So my mum was supposed to go to my anatomy scan with me yesterday, but she called me and told me that because Bree is still upset, to the point of not speaking to me, she didn't want to make it any worse by going to the appointment. I took my toddler with me instead, and he was great company. The nurses absolutely loved having him there, and it was easier not to think about the fact that my mum ditched me when I had him to focus on. Mum did text me later wanting to know if the baby was a boy or a girl, and if everything went all right. But I still haven't texted her back because I feel like I'd just end up getting even more hurt about the situation. I don't think I'm going to try any more with either of them. I wanted to in the beginning because I think Bree just needs to talk to a therapist and sort her feelings out, but our mum deciding to skip out on this appointment with me just kinda sealed the deal. I sent Bree's husband a message, since Bree has blocked me, telling them both that I hope things work out for them in all the ways they deserve, and that I am genuinely sorry if I hurt her. I recommended talking to a therapist or support group of some kind, and said that when Bree has worked through all of the things that she needs to work through, she's more than welcome to call me. My dad found out about the argument, and he's offered to come drive down with his wife to stay with me when the baby gets here, since the plan was originally for my mum to do it instead. I told him I'd let him know once it gets closer to the actual date, but I think that's probably what's going to end up happening. I'm not going to focus too much on Bree and my mum right now. My kiddos are my priority, and I think what's best is to keep them away from the drama, so I don't plan on allowing Bree or my mum around for a while. Thank you guys again so much for all of your responses, as it was really helpful to have outside perspectives on the situation. It definitely helped me figure out a few things for myself. And edit, baby number 3 is a little boy. You are all so sweet for asking. Edit number 2, some people have been asking, so I wanted to clarify a few things. My kid's bio mum and I had initially agreed upon caring for the oldest without any outside court involvement, just an agreement between the two of us. 2 years after the initial agreement, I was 24, and it was clear that my daughter would be staying with me for much longer than originally intended. So then bio mum and I did mutually decide on court involvement to make this situation official. Neither of the kids were infants when I was granted custody of them, and my toddler hung out with the nurses at the front of the clinic while I was in the actual appointment. Lol. He was too little to be allowed back. And now in the comments, I feel like your mum is making excuses for your sister's bad behavior, and in the process, is reinforcing said behavior. I think you made the best call that you can for yourself and children. Just be sure to set good boundaries and be ready to reinforce them, because once the dust settles, someone may attempt to test them. And not the asshole, this time or last. It really sounds like Bree is the golden child and OP is the scapegoat, and it's always been this way. It would explain a lot of the entitlement of Bree, and why OP would ask if she was the asshole in the first place, since scapegoats are often made to believe everything is their fault. It's probably more that Bree is currently the actively hurting child, and the mother went into full-throttle mum mode to protect the daughter that she feels needs it more at the moment. But I totally agree that Bree's reactions were inappropriate, and that she really should go to therapy to get the help that she needs, especially before she even considers adopting, or they will weed her out before they even start the process. And big kudos to OP for getting involved in the mentoring program, and stepping up for her daughter and son. Someone replies to that, then why didn't motherly instincts kick in to support the daughter who is vulnerable and pregnant? I don't think it's about motherly instincts as much as it is about the golden child. Not the asshole. Do not reply to your mum. Let her sit and wonder. When she asks again, reply, if you really wanted to know, you would have shown up. And block her for a while. I'm glad you have your dad for help. As a social worker who works with foster kids, your family, you and your kids, sound wonderful, and you sound like an awesome mom. You sound like the kind of person who adopts for the right reason. But I have to say, your sister's comment that you took kids from the system is offensive AF. Children are not prizes, and are not possessions to be bought or won. People are not entitled to them. Maybe your sister didn't mean it like that, and she's just grieving for the idea of the perfect family she had, but it sounds like she needs therapy. And OP replies, thank you so much, both for the work you do and for the compliment. I really appreciate it. And I completely agree. I hope that one day she realizes how harmful it is to view kids in the system as tools to build a family rather than as children in need of safety and care. I wish more people centered kids in conversations of adoption instead of centering the adults who are seeking to adopt them. Wow, OP. You're like shockingly well adjusted. I think if someone asked me to be a parent at 22, I'd have said yes, and then imploded. And OP replies, it definitely wasn't easy in the beginning, lol. There was a lot of trial and error, but I managed. In the end, I definitely consider it to be one of the best choices I ever made. I can't imagine my life without my kiddos in it. My fiance is convinced I have a crush on my friend's husband. My best friend Sarah, 26 female, and her husband Matt, 28 male, have put me in a very difficult position with my fiance Jack, 30 male. I've known Matt since my childhood. He was my neighbor, and we were friendly. Sarah and I were roommates in college and became close friends. When I introduced Sarah and Matt, they hit it off and started dating each other. I was happy to see two of my friends get together, but also annoyed that I became the third wheel and was often ignored or set aside because they were so into each other. By the time I graduated, Matt had completely dropped me as a friend. That saddened me, but I was still good friends with Sarah, so it was what it was. Sarah and I would frequently hang out, but I never talked with Matt other than the occasional polite hellos. Sarah would sometimes try to do couples dates with her and Matt, and me and my dates. I found that Matt had developed an unpleasant personality and would frequently be rude and condescending towards me. However, he's a very devoted and loving husband to Sarah, so for her sake, I ignored him. When my fiance and I got engaged, we had no plans to do a party. Sarah was disappointed that we didn't throw an engagement party, so she organized a small get-together at her home to celebrate us. The party was nice, and as things were winding down, my fiancé and I went to thank Sarah and Matt for their sweet gesture before we took our leave. Matt was pretty tipsy by then, and out of nowhere he suddenly hugged me, and in front of my fiancé said that he was so glad that I was finally settling down, and he's relieved that now I'll be over the crush I had on him. I was shocked and told him that that wasn't true. He just laughed and told Jack that I was always chasing him and he had to work hard to keep me away. I dragged Sarah in and asked her to please fix this mess, and she was like, "Oh, he's drunk, ignore him," and says, "You know I always trust you. I know you wouldn't act on your crush." Jack was pretty pissed by this point and he walked out. I ran after him and tried explaining that this isn't true, but he told me that he doesn't want to be anyone's second choice or their backup plan. Since that night, he isn't talking to me or returning my calls. I've talked to Sarah multiple times to clear things with Jack, but she's been brushing me off. I don't understand why they believe this, or why she'd stay friends with me if she thought that I was into her husband. I was in her wedding party and did all the work because her sister, who was the maid of honor, was too busy. I have helped her through her pregnancy and have babysat her kids so many times. She never gave me any indication she thought this, and why would she want me close to her family if she believed this? I feel humiliated that these people think I was pining away for a jerk like Matt. I need help in convincing Jack that this isn't true. I'm also mad at him for throwing away our relationship over what some drunken idiot said. I don't know what I'm going to do about my friendship with Sarah. And now in the comments, Sarah thinks it's true too. She was confident in her relationship and didn't see it as an issue, but I'm pretty sure that she thought it as well. That's why she's brushing you off, because she agrees with him. For Matt to F up your relationship that relieves him of the responsibility of thinking that you have a crush on him is irony of the highest effing level. He's a prick to say that in front of Jack. Point out to her that her husband screwed up your relationship and you expect them to do something about it or you are through with them. I have no idea how to heal this with Jack. He likely won't listen unless he comes to his senses when he calms down. The issue is whether he'll communicate with you at all. But if he does, go full guns on how ridiculous it is that you got them together and would have never done that if you were after him yourself. Meanwhile, drop all contact with Sarah and Matt. They're just effing with your life and they sound pretty smug and nasty to me. I think it's more what Sarah said that set Jack off. Friends usually know each other's secrets, so Sarah co-signing what Matt said holds more weight than if she had disagreed. Although it's possible that Matt has made slick comments like this to Jack behind your back. And OP replies, "Yes, I think this is right. I'm trying to get Sarah to talk to Jack and deny this, but she's not doing that. I don't understand why she won't do this for me." Matt has probably lied to Sarah the same way he lied to Jack. Unless you can get Matt to confess, the best you can do is sit Sarah and Jack down. Make it clear that you are committed to Jack, loyal to Sarah, and have zero feelings for Matt. Sarah and Matt are people you do not want in your life. If your fiancé is this insecure, I suggest you take a step back. Send him his ring and tell him that you will wait until he decides to believe the woman he claims to love. He also seems like an arse by refusing to communicate. I do not see a great marriage if this is how he resolves conflict. And OP says, I'm quite desperate to not lose Jack, but I'm also angry about his actions here. I don't give a crap about Matt, but Sarah's lack of care is heartbreaking to me. And now, on to the update. So I talked to Sarah again, and asked her first of all why she'd think that I had a crush on Matt. She said that when I first introduced them, I had talked up Matt and gushed about him, and she took that as me being into him. I said that I was fond of him since I've known him for a long time, but that doesn't mean that I want to be with him. She said when they started dating, I was often upset about it. I said that I wasn't upset about their dating, I was upset that she would make plans with me and then leave me to be with him, and when we were all together, I didn't enjoy being the third wheel while they all ignored me. That had nothing to do with wanting him, and more not liking being left out by my best friend. I then asked her why she hadn't said anything before, and she explained that she could manage the situation. She had asked Matt to stop talking to me completely, and she engineered situations so there was little chance of us socializing with each other. So then I asked her, now that I've explained that I never had a crush on Matt, can you please talk to Jack and tell him? She said she didn't want to lie. This frustrated me immensely. She could ignore the imaginary crush for years and manipulate me, but won't talk to my fiancé to help my relationship. I told her that I was done being her friend. Thinking back, I was always doing stuff for her, and she used me, but did little for me. And now, on to the final update. TLDR, Jack and I broke up. So I wrote a long letter to Jack explaining the entire history of my relationship with Sarah and Matt with the recent screen caps. I asserted as best as I could that I had never pined after any guy, and I loved him, and he was my only choice. After days of silence, Jack agreed to talk with me. We met, and he said that he sees two ways of interpreting this situation. 1. Matt and Sarah are right, and he doesn't want to be my second choice. 2. They are malicious people who are messing with me, and that shows very poor judgment on my part that I'd have a best friend like this, and he doesn't want that quality in a life partner. Either possibility leads to the same conclusion that he wants to call off the engagement. He reminded me that I had represented Sarah as one of the most important people in my life. I would jump up and help her all the time. I had once cancelled plans with him to take care of her kid when the baby was sick. It had irked him, but he had seen it as me being caring and nice, but now he's seeing all of that in a different light. I cried and begged him not to end our engagement, but he wanted a break for a while. I thought over what he said for a few days and came to realize that he was right. I was a clingy friend and a doormat. I never even saw how much one-sided my friendship with Sarah was. I was a doormat with Jack too. I didn't want to get married or have kids this early, but agreed to his timelines. I gave up an exciting job opportunity with more money because he didn't want me traveling for work. I love him, but I need to fix myself and be stronger. I gave back his ring, and I ended things. I returned all the gifts he gave me too. He was offended by that, but I didn't feel good about keeping the very expensive things that he had given me. He makes a lot more than me and was very generous with what he gave me, but I can't keep that now. Sarah was quiet for a while, but then she started calling me. I ignored a lot of her calls, but this morning I answered her call and told her about the breakup. I was looking for sympathy from my old friend. She was more interested in knowing if I was still going to watch her kid while she and Matt went on an overnight trip. She got pretty angry when I said no. I have blocked her now. I have lost my fiancé, my best friend, and my relationship with my nephew whom I adored, all in one go. But still, I'm thankful for the comments that showed that this wasn't something I could fix and helped me rip off the band-aid and walk away from this mess. And now in the comments, oh my god, the delusions people have. OP, I hope you run after the job that you wanted, create more memories for yourself, and learn to say no. I hope you have the best life that you can give yourself, and I hope that you can heal from this. They don't deserve you. I hope to see an update about your life in a year with nothing but great memories. And OP replies, "That job is gone. I'm more upset about it now than when I had said no to it. It was a golden opportunity that I was lucky to get." Wow, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be mean to your ex, but F Jack. This really sounds like you dodged a bullet and dropped some dead weight with some shitty non-friends. You will find your people and be much happier. Sending you internet hugs. And OP replies, "I kind of see his point of view, but yeah, F him. He shouldn't have asked me to marry him if he didn't trust me or respect me." Even ignoring all the backstory, imagine telling your best friend, "My fiancé and I broke up. Sorry, I can't watch your kid right now," and then them getting angry about it. Add in the "we broke up because of you," and that makes it 100 times worse. It's all fun and games until you lose your free babysitter. It really just shows the level of superficiality with which Sarah dealt with their relationship. I do personally think that OP fell into these relationships with people who would control her in a way which explains the fiancé's reaction. Yup, it is hard to see the forest through the trees when you were that close to someone. It jumped out at us, but we could be more objective. Feel badly for OP. This was a devastating lesson, and I only hope that she continues on this path. What's right isn't always what is best. Our next post is titled, "I, 34 female, feel pressure having to take care of my mother, 72 female, who never considers me as her daughter." So I really need to get this off my chest because I have no one to turn to for support about my problems. A bit of a long background before I tell the situation right now. I'm a 34-year-old woman living in Canada, but I am Chinese. My father's family, I'm not sure if they ever considered me family, has run a successful fishing business for nearly 70 years. They have a lot of money and are well known for their successful business. My mother's family is wealthy because both of my grandparents are professors. My two older brothers, 36 and 38 male, get everything they want, whereas I have to beg them to buy me a new pair of shoes because they despise the fact that I exist in this world. What's the reason, you ask? A typical Asian reason for disliking women. Boys are superior to girls, women should stay in the kitchen while men make the money. That sort of thing. My parents despise the fact that I can outshine my two wonderful brothers. That's not going to happen though. I am not smart at all, but I'm active and always participate in events and stuff. They always tell me not to do this and that, and to stay at home and clean the house. I moved out after graduating high school and received a scholarship. I flew to the US and graduated 4 years ago. I passed the board exam and returned to Canada to look for work. Following that, I received a phone call from my grandmother congratulating me. I feel super happy since when I was a child, she has been the only person who has shown genuine concern for me and has given me gifts. Small things, but I 100% appreciate it. My parents chastised me for bragging about my accomplishments and tried to force me to resign from my job. I've cut all contact with them since then, but I've kept in touch with my brothers who also treat me good. They're probably sick of my parents' behavior as well, but they don't know how to cut ties because my parents expect a lot from them. Now, the main reason I'm posting this is that my mother has been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. My brothers both refuse to stay with her and have asked my father to hire a nanny or a caregiver instead. My father had no choice but to ask me if I could at least be with my mother. No, I said. I told them that if they only remember me because they have no other options, then I'm out. I don't care if my mother is afraid of needles or simply wants some company while undergoing chemotherapy. Like, how can they expect me to look after them when they treated me as an outsider and criticized me as being useless as a child? They never give me love, support, or even simple compliments. All of my life, they have blamed me for this and that. But still, she is the woman who gave birth to me, and I feel terrible about it. I don't know what to do. My mind is a mess and I can't do any work because of the continuous calls from my mum's family side and from my dad's side forcing me and pushing me to agree to take care of the sick woman who gave birth to me. What do I do? And note, yes, my mother told me that she never considered me as her daughter when I told them that I'm flying to the US to study. When I was a child, every birthday she would look at me with disgust and told me that she never wished to celebrate any more of my birthdays. And now in the comments, You don't need to take care of your mother. Block them. If they have never treated you like family, then they are not your family. You don't owe that woman care just because she gave birth to you. Stated perfectly, you don't owe them anything and never have to speak to them ever again. The argument that she gave birth to me is somehow justification for a reward or special treatment always struck me as odd, especially if the mother treats you poorly afterwards. Nobody asks to be born, and life can suck. Gee, thanks a lot, Mum. Your brothers said no for a reason. You were right to say no as well. It sounds like your family can afford in-home care, so let them pay for it. I hate your parents. Please don't sacrifice yourself. She has had your entire lifetime to make her choices. One of them was to treat you awfully. She absolutely doesn't deserve any more of your soul. Turn off your phone, take a bunch of deep breaths, and be free, please. You deserve all of the good bits of life. I think you've suffered enough of the bad. And I say this as a mother too. My kids and I are awesome, but I'd still never ask them to sacrifice their lives like that anyway. They get to have their turn to experience life. And now, on to the update. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone who messaged me and at least told me what I should do. I apologize for not responding to the comments because I needed to rest and get some therapy to protect my health. I had a lot of messages from my messages and WeChat when I opened my phone again yesterday, coming from my father and mother's family. They keep urging me to return to China and to bring some shame to my mother, who gave birth to me and other such things. Because it was a group chat, my brothers saw it and decided to chastise them for forcing me and exploiting my weakness to force me to return home. They sent a lengthy message in which they describe everything my mother did to me when I was a child. From not providing a heater in my room during the winter season, to turning my birthday into a punishment day, and so on. My oldest brother told them that if my mother treated me well and not like garbage, I would probably take care of her. He then told them that none of her children want to care for her because she is a true witch who mentally abused her children. My second older brother then told them that if the two of them, who had received excellent treatment from the witch, don't want to look after her, what about me, who she only gave punishments and harsh words to? After my brothers said that, none of our relatives texted. If she had treated all three of us well, we would gladly return to China and take care of her. I'm currently taking a break. My boss is aware of what's going on and has granted me a week off so that I can perform well when I return to work. Please treat your children equally, all parents out there. I hope that no other children have to go through what I have. And now in the comments, I'm glad that your brothers had your back. I'm glad your brothers intervened and stuck up for you and had your back too. I hope that you're able to accept your decision is the right thing and not feel bad anymore. You didn't deserve how your parents treated you, and I hope you're able to protect your mental health. Your brothers sound amazing. It seems incredibly rare in situations like these for the favored siblings to stand up for the black sheep. I'm so glad that they had your back, and wow, they had your back in the most spectacular of ways. I would give them big hugs if I were you. I am so glad that you had their support, and that they helped you put your family in their place. You deserve so much better than an awful mother like that. It befuddles me when people treat their kids like absolute crap while raising them, and then expect them to actually be their caretakers, and end up shocked when they receive the same energy that they gave. Then again, there never really is logic with those types of people. They never seem to remember the abuse. Either it's always it wasn't that bad, you were an unruly child who needed discipline, I didn't do that, or you are misremembering. I am always amazed at how many of them get selective memory, and somehow they were fantastic parents who did right by their kids. When in reality, if anyone had known how badly they were treating their kids, they would have likely been removed from the house. The selective memory kills me because they say horrible crap that you'll never forget because it's traumatizing, and for them it was meaningless, and they forget it the same as what they had for breakfast on a Tuesday 2 years ago. It was so freeing to see that narcissist parents abound, they all do the same things. It wasn't our fault. I was concerned that her brothers would pick her mother's side, since they were very clearly the favorites compared to OP. But I'm so glad that they stuck with OP. F OP's mum. She is not a mother, she is a walking birth canal. Because clearly she never wanted to pick up the title of mum and actually behave like one. You know it's bad when even the golden children think it's screwed up. Golden Asian child is no blessing. They put insane pressure on their golden egg, and then act amazed when the eggs got cracked and broken under the pressure. My oldest maternal cousin is going through that right now. He was held up by my grandma and pushed harshly by his mum his whole life. And as an adult, he's just useless. In his 30s and can't hold down an internship given to him by one of our uncles, let alone a job. Family has been trying to find a wife for him, and it's an ordeal and a half because even with my family's connections, the best they can even manage are the most obvious gold diggers that you have ever seen in your life. And not even the kind that want to live a sugar baby lifestyle. They just want to marry him so they can divorce him after 2 years and get my grandma's big city condo. The rest of us cousins were born in the US after our mums ran here to get away from their bullcrap. And let me tell you, it's a godsend blessing to have grown up away from that drama. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.